Welcome to Sports Buds Hockey Podcast, where two friends come together to discuss all things hockey and where everyone's opinion is appreciated. Please welcome your hosts, Merrick and Collin Simpson.
Hello and welcome to Sports Buds Hockey Podcast, Season 3, Episode 12. Tonight, we're going to talk about Four Nations. With me, as always, my buddy, Collin Simpson. How you doing tonight, Simps?
Doing good, Mav. Couple days away from Four Nations. Getting pretty excited.
It's been a long season, it feels like, to get to this point with a lot of anticipation. We've been waiting for the announcement, obviously, of the event itself. And then once the event happened, they announced the first few players. So everybody named 6 players. So there was a lot of, pretty obvious choices within that. And then the actual full rosters. So one of the big things about the rosters, obviously, Simps, you're playing a long season. So you got to wait and you got to see if everybody's going to be healthy come time. So we thought right now we'll do one last primer before the first game and really just touch base on any changes in the lineups, what they look like, and maybe how we feel that's going to affect the team. What do you think, Sips?
Yeah, definitely. We talked about it a little while back when we covered the intro to the Four Nations. We've looked at the players in, who didn't make it, who got snubbed. So we were kind of looking at going, could there be any changes based on their play, not just injuries, but it looks like most people kept their spots. It's not too unsurprising. They did take some time to make their choices. They were pretty happy with what they chose, but unfortunately, no matter who you are, you're playing a hard season, every day in and out, trying to make sure you don't get injured, but things happen. These players really wanted to be in this tournament, but unseen circumstances kept a couple guys out. So each team seems to have taken a bit of a hit. So we can kind of just start to walk through what we saw happen and who's going to be who's out and maybe who's replacing them and the impact that it's going to have on this tournament.
Well, and you look at this and it's not Olympics, it's not a world championship, it's not any of those things, but anytime these guys throw a sweater on with their country's logo, that they're going to give it their all. They're going to do everything they can. And obviously, even past the injuries that we're going to talk about, there could be a few that are banged up that are still coming. You heard Crosby. You've got, a bunch of these guys that Rantanen, I believe. There's a few of them that are still going, but, exactly what kind of shape are they in? Well, why don't we start with Sweden? What do we got? Anybody missing that we really know of for Sweden?
Well, we talked about this in the previous episode. Obviously, the goaltending is always pretty good for Sweden this year. My ex-goaltender, Jacob Markstrom, was set to be a big part of this team. He's had a couple of good years in a row, moved to Jersey, kind of got some life back in him, maybe going to have a chance to maybe take some playoff runs. And
as far away as you can get him from Edmonton, I think that's really what helps him out.
Exactly. And so he was looking forward to this, I'm sure. But unfortunately, he's unable to participate. So that kind of takes away whom I thought was going to be the team's starting goaltender going into the tournament. So that's a big hit for this team.
Definitely. Yeah, they replaced him with Urson, I believe, from Philly.
Yeah, pretty much an unknown. Not exactly what I'd say a replacement in this type of thing. He's barely a replacement for an NHL team, let alone when you're going to go up against the best of these other 3 top nations. So I doubt he would see any time. The other 2 goaltenders are much more proven. He's more or less there if, barring a couple bad injuries, but I don't think he'll see the ice when you've only got X amount of games, like 3 to 4 games.
There's no warm-ups.
There's no time to be like, let's put one guy in for a bit and see how he does. No, you're more or less riding one guy and saying, okay, you've got to play horrible to be moved to the second guy. But there's absolutely no reason to move to the third guy.
Yeah. So it shouldn't really, it shouldn't affect him Urson-wise, but obviously the loss of Markstrom could be a decent factor for Sweden, which we still think is going to be a pretty decent squad. So that might be a big push. What about Finland? I know Heiskanen was out. Who else are they missing?
I think they had 2 more defensemen go down. I think Hakanpää was one of the ones out. And then Ristolainen, I think, is out. So not massive names compared to Heiskanen. Obviously, Heiskanen's the real missing factor here.
He's the number one on that team for sure.
Yeah, but the problem is when you lose 3 guys, now Thankfully, it's not like the NHL, where if an NHL team loses 3 players, they're kinda just messed because they spent most of the year getting chemistry. That's the only thing you can take away from this. When you lose guys here, the next guys in had the same amount of chemistry as the guys who went out because they just never played together. So you're not losing that portion of it, but you're just losing your talent level. You are choosing from the top to the bottom talent level. And when you lose 3 guys like that, you've got to bring in 3 guys that are not probably quite the same level. And you're going up against 3 top nations, and you're already considered the least favorite of the group. And this is just definitely not going to help your odds of winning this.
I mean, really, when you look at Heiskanen, he is probably like easily a top 10 player, D-man in this league, maybe top 5. I believe he had Norris Trophy votes last year. This is a guy that was absolutely going to be the anchor on that finished blue line. So that's going to be your power play guy, probably your penalty kill guy, probably everything. So that one's a big loss. So that one's pretty tough. The names to replace him, again, nothing against those guys. Very good, talented players, but not at that level. So yeah, it's for a team that was probably going to be in tough to win this. I think that's a major blow to Finland for sure. I read a story today. They had 11 skaters on the ice for practice today, so not even getting a full squad out yet. I mean, that's a big hit as well.
Well, yeah, like them and the U.S. have a bit of an advantage. We've talked about before having the extra day to practice, but if you only have 11 guys out there, you haven't quite taken advantage of that extra day. So a team that's already behind the 8 ball from a talent perspective would like to get as many chances as they can to play together before. So at least maybe a chance at team chemistry would give them a bit better chance to take a game or two. But, you've thrown away today. Now you've just got tomorrow and Wednesday at least to get some practice in. But I don't think it's going to be enough.
Well, and I mean, really, you're hoping that that's a couple people that couldn't get here in time or couldn't get to Montreal in time. Not necessarily guys that are still injured or they're still trying to replace or still trying to find somebody else to come in or, any of that. So, yeah, definitely a tough squad, a tough one for Finland. Next up is the U.S., and this might be quite possibly the biggest loss for anybody in this tournament for injury so far, and that's Quinn Hughes. So Quinn Hughes off the blue line for the U.S., and now we've got Jake Sanderson's going to be covering for him. So obviously, again, Jake Sanderson, great player, everything else, but Quinn Hughes is reigning Norris Trophy winner. So that's a huge loss to the U.S. and defense was going to be one of their strong suits.
Yeah, this is why I consider this one a bit of a polarizing issue. You've kind of got both sides of the spectrum. You've got the side that Quinn Hughes being out, definitely probably top 2 defensemen in the league. Him and Cale Makar, you can go back and forth. Adam Fox maybe sits a little bit behind them, in my opinion. So that's a big blow. But the big difference is if it was Cale Makar out for Canada, I believe that would be a much bigger issue. And not because he's well ahead of Quinn Hughes in any sense, because there isn't the same depth in the Canadian defense as there is in this American defense. Now, thankfully for the Americans, he's out. Sanderson is a very big drop-off from Quinn Hughes. And I mean, a very big drop-off, but you still are sitting behind with Charlie McAvoy, Adam Fox. This is a very deep defense that will be able to, in my opinion, even with Quinn Hughes out, match up against almost every other team's defense across the 4 teams. That's how good they actually are. But at any time in a tournament like this, where it's a lot about great skating, puck moving, you're going to really miss Hughes because there's not many that do it better in the league than him.
Realistically, I think everyone is anticipating an all-star game when it comes to the skating power and the speed and how fast the game will be played, but with some actual hitting, with people actually caring. So there's still going to be defense, but you are still going to see that skill. You're going to see all these guys that can do anything they want with a puck, like it's on a string at full speed, and you're going to see that all of them can do it now, right? There's no fourth lines here, even though there is fourth lines. These guys are second and even first liners on other teams. So by comparison, that speed, when you start losing a guy like Hughes, even with a great defense and everything around him, every guy matters. right? And like you said, it's a pretty big drop off to go from Hughes to Sanderson, and that's not a slight on Sanderson. It's just how important Hughes is. I read somewhere just I think today, he's actually leading the Canucks by 25 points right now in scoring. Like, as a defenseman, it's 25 points ahead. Like, that's amazing.
Well, they show him, and I've seen a few different statistics that show him like in the last 3 to 4 years, he's like fourth or fifth in scoring overall, sort of thing. You're just like, it's crazy to think of the points he's putting up, and I think it's just because he lives in Vancouver and he plays in Vancouver, and the fact that he is not won a cup like Makar, and he's not playing in New York like Adam Fox. I think as much as he's getting recognition, like with a bit of Norris talk and that, I just don't think enough people see him play overall. When you're starting your games at 8:00 at the Pacific time, not many East Coast people are really getting to see Quinn Hughes play. And I think that's the only reason he's not considered an absolute legend of the same way they talk about Cale Makar could be, by the time all said and done, the best defenseman ever. Well, you got this other guy who's like right behind him. Yeah. So it's not often do you get a guy like that where you're like, oh, this guy here is going to be a legendary defenseman, and there's yet a guy beside him. Kind of reminds me of like the tennis days of, Federer and Nadal, and you got all these guys who are, this guy's the best ever. Oh, wait a minute. This guy's the best ever. Oh, wait, hold on. This guy over here, he's the best ever. You know what I mean? There's just not often do you see two absolute talents at the same time come through. So, he'll definitely be missed.
And that's it for the U.S. So we'll see what that one ends up with. The next up is Team Canada. I didn't actually see it posted, but I heard about it just in line matchups and everything else, and that's that Drew Doughty is in because Alex Pietrangelo is out.
Yeah, this one here, I'm honestly not thrilled about. I'm not a huge Pietrangelo fan, don't get me wrong, but I don't think Drew Doughty was the guy that should be going in. I know a lot of people maybe disagree just due to the fact that he's got some experience. He's got some, Team Canada play before. The problem is he's coming off an injury. He's only played 6 games. He's 35 years old. This is going to move faster than you can even imagine when there's only 4 games. You don't have to be saving energy for a long stretch. Guys are going to be going 100 miles an hour. And I don't think Drew Doughty's a guy. I think there was other picks out there that maybe not have the same name as him.
Don't start making your case for Uyghur just because he plays for the Flames.
Well, no, he'd be one of them, but there was multiple defensemen I think that should have been in there who've played 40 some odd games and are in proper full game shape. This isn't like a 25-year-old coming back from an injury and playing 6 games. It's a 35-year-old. And I don't think don't get me wrong, he's probably going to get pushed down to possibly 5 and 6 man minutes just because of his injury and stuff. Now, if you give me Drew Doughty 3 years ago with no injury, I love this guy. He's one of my favorite competitors. Like, he's got a compete level like not many other players. But I don't think they made the right pick on a team that really is, in my opinion, for how good Canada is. It's not the back end that makes me think they're good by no means. So, and I don't think this really was an upgrade in any sense. Or even I think it's a bigger downgrade than some of the other guys that came in with even less of a name.
Yeah, I think according to the lines this morning, he lined up second pair with Theodore. I don't know if that's going to be the right spot for him. Like you said, he's not as fleet of foot as he used to be. But you're right. The compete factor for him is off the charts. So I was nervous. They talked about Doughty being a guy that would be a replacement the whole way along, and then he broke his ankle first, either preseason or first game of the year. He broke his ankle and it's been out ever since. So, yeah, it's a tough call. I hope that it turns into the right call and it ends up being there, but it does make me nervous as well. Fun one today. They talked about some line matchups. First line, try to put it together. Did you hear it today?
No, I didn't see what was out there. What'd they go with?
They went with Crosby and McKinnon together. And then the other one on that was...
Oh, didn't they go Reinhart for a shooter? Or no, that was a different line.
No, that was McDavid, Marner, and Reinhart together.
That's right.
Yeah. And then the other one was, I'm drawing a blank on the third guy. Yeah, they had Marner. Yeah, Marner, McDavid, and Reinhart together.
Oh,
And
Mark
then,
Stone. Mark Stone.
oh, that's right. Yeah, little defensive conscience there for him.
Yep.
And then you've got two pest lines at the bottom that should just irritate everybody. Like he just lumped them all together. So, I mean, it's pretty good.
What do you think of Mark Stone on that last line, though? On that first line, sorry.
He tends to play with who he has with him. Like he plays to their level. And sometimes that's defensively, sometimes it's a scoring role. As an Edmonton fan, Mark Stone's a bit of a thorn in the Oilers' side for a few years now. So there's definitely a bit of an issue there. But he can score. He can do all that. He does dig pucks. He gets turnovers. And I think really what you want with that is you want that guy to be able to get that puck back for you. If Crosby and McKinnon lose it, you want somebody that's going to intercept a pass, get in front of a shot, dig it out in a corner, whatever it takes to get it back. And that's something that he can do.
No, definitely. He's had a great two-way game for a long time. I just kind of wonder, though, like, is McKinnon, he's a right wing, is he not?
Center normally.
But isn't Crosby going to be centering that line?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that's my point. I think they're playing McKinnon on the right. I think they put Mark Stone on the left, and I think they've got Sid in the middle. But like, maybe it's the right play, and maybe not. Like, I sometimes wonder, like, is Brad Marchand? I kind of saw him on that line if they were going to go with those two, because all three play together all the time through the summer as well.
Yeah.
Right. So, and he's a winger. He's also a bit of a back checker. I'm a little surprised they didn't go with him. And now, not to say, hey, they just did a line today. They got a whole nother day to practice tomorrow. They might switch up some lines tomorrow because it's not like they've had any chance to really see them together. So just the way they line up today doesn't mean that's the way it's going to go. They may look at whole different lines tomorrow.
Oh, totally.
But so I was a little surprised by that, I guess. I just don't know if Mark Stone has the speed to keep up with a Nathan McKinnon. So I don't know how much in the play he'd be in. No, but I think Brad Marchand's faster than Mark Stone.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know that. I mean, Crosby's still quick, but I don't think he keeps up with McKinnon either.
No, but that's my point. You don't need. So when you're looking at a lineup up front, let's say you got a centerman who's playing a two-way centerman. He doesn't have to be super speedy. He just lays the puck up to the two wingers who go up and make the play. Mm-hmm. But if two of your forwards are not keeping up with your other guy, can be a bit of a problem unless you're going for breakaways all the time.
So he gets into the zone. He goes through the corner, around behind the net. By that point, the other two guys have caught up. Correct. It's the same game that I play. Yeah. I'm not keeping up with anybody.
Don't get me wrong. Like they're going to run into the same problem with line two and like who keeps with the Connor, but I think Mitch is a pretty good skater. Yeah. And then Reinhart they went with because those two guys both need a scorer. Yeah. Mitch is used to having a score. Connor can shoot, but he's still a pass first type of player. And putting Reinhart totally makes sense because you have one wicked shooter at that point. Yeah. Obviously, I think his positioning was just kind of where they're stuck because you look at a guy like Braden Point, who I think could easily play higher up on this team.
Oh, yeah.
But you're a center and you've got Crosby and McDavid ahead of you. So, all of a sudden your best chance is third line center. But it's going to be some interesting combinations. What do you think do you think they'll stack up a power play?
I did read that today. Yeah, they had Crosby, McDavid, McKinnon, Makar, and Reinhart was the first power play unit. Like, I don't know, is that having 5 scoops of ice cream on one cone? You're like, I don't even know what to do with this. Like, it's too much.
Yeah, that's my concern, right? Let 5 scoops of ice cream and 2 scoops fall off because you went too many. I don't know. Like, I worry, like, are they going to overpass now? I think after the first game, they'll start to figure out, okay, what are we doing here? Who's taking shots? You
don't have a game. That's the problem with this.
No, that's what I'm saying. The first game, I think
if they go 0 for 5 on the power play against Sweden,
correct. That's when the change will happen, though, right? But I think they could try it.
If they do, though, but if they do go 0 for 5 against Sweden, like they could be 0-1 at that point.
Correct, but there's no else way to do it. Anytime as you're a coach, you're given that talent. As much as we're saying, well, is that too much on one? At the same token, everyone's going to go, well, why the hell is so-and-so not out there? You know what I mean?
Oh
So if you're
yeah,
trying to break it up and go, okay, McDavid's out there and Crosby's not, well, that doesn't make sense. Get him out there. Like, we've got an
yeah.
extra man and you don't got Sidney Crosby on the ice.
Crosby has 1,600 points. How is he not?
Correct. So I think the coaches are looking at it going, okay, let's try today, first day, and say, let's just put everyone out there and see what we can do. If it's just too much, or we feel we have to split it up a little to create some scoring if we think we're going to have to play two lines. But the thing is about these guys, McDavid, Crosby, some of these main guys, they're used to playing almost the full 2 minutes of power plays all the time. That's how fit
Yeah.
they are. They're used to being said, no, you stay out here and then you stay out here and then take 20 seconds off and then go for 3 more shifts sort of thing. So it's not like you're like, well, we got to have 2 power play lines because, one line will get tired. So I don't know. We'll see. Like, that is a lot of talent out on the thing. And it's, maybe it works. For all we know, they maybe get into a groove and they move the puck around and someone takes the shot all the time and they put the puck in the net. Or you've got a bunch of guys who are looking at each other going, oh, I'm playing with so-and-so. He's that good. I'm going to give him the puck. I'm going to give him the puck.
Yeah, but I look at
nobody
that.
shoots.
I look at that line and I think McKinnon's doing that Ovi thing over on the right side, right? Where he tapes that one-timer all the time. And I'm pretty sure Reinhart does the same thing from the other side. So if you've got them kind of on either side, either dot, face-off circle, and then you've got McDavid, Crosby, and Makar just skating, moving, doing their thing all over the place, I think that could be, a heck of a line.
No,
but
there's no doubt about it. And I get what you're saying. Like, these guys can do that. My point is, when McKinnon gets the puck or when the other guy gets the puck on the other side, and now you look up and normally on your team, you would just fire that, right? You would just fire it. You're the best player on the team.
Yeah.
You take every shot. But now you look up and get the puck and go, well, where's McDavid? Well, where's Sid? It's hard to not take away from that to be like, I'm not the best guy anymore. I need to be looking for that guy. Yeah. And it's just going to take a bit to understand, to get back into their own mindset of just, no, fuck it, I'm the guy. I'm just going to take my shot like I normally would, ignore who else is on the ice. And that's all my concern is. It would be hard for any player. You've talked to guys who first go out and play with Crosby for the first time for Team Canada, and they're kind of like awestruck. Same as it was when you went and played with Gretzky, Lemieux, all these guys. It's hard not to just forget your game. I mean, to play your game and forget the fact that you're playing with these superstars and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have the puck. They should have the puck.
Yeah.
So I'm just worried about that. And then I think that'll go away quickly. Guys will just get back into their normal competitive groove. They've been doing the same thing in their career for so long. It's that initial little bit. Yeah. You see it at all-star games and stuff like that as well. I know it's not as competitive, but you just kind of like, oh, this guy, he should have it.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see.
No, it's I hope that as the chances come that we'll see that line out there and probably making some good choices, but you never know. Defense-wise, the pairings look pretty good. No starter announced for Team Canada, so it looked like Montembeault was in the kind of third slot.
Yeah,
like he didn't have a net to start with, so Hill and Binnington both had a net, and then Montembeault kind of subbed in for them. So seems like he's in the third position at this point. But again, for today, tomorrow could be totally different. But also even where they sit in the change room and all that stuff, there's all sorts of things. But it seems like it's either Hill or Binnington going to get the start. I've maintained all the way along that I think Binnington gets the first start. His home team's the Blues. The GM is the Blues GM. I think that it just kind of makes sense that that's where it'll start unless he has some reason and loses a position. But I think that'll be the first starter.
Yeah, I agree. Montembeault, he's just like the third stringer we're talking about for Finland, who's never going to see time either. He's not going to see anything barring an injury. I had thought Binnington as well. I hope they go Aiden Hill. I think they both have cups. Aiden Hill's having a better season than Jordan Binnington. Binnington's under 900 save percentage this year. I don't think he's got what it takes. I think in this scenario, Aiden Hill is the better goalie. I hope they start with him, and then if he doesn't do well, then you can switch to Binnington. But I'm with you in the sense that there is a connection. We all know that these things play into who gets chosen, just like the team when they got picked. Players that we said were only there because of Cooper. So I think there's a very good chance Bennington gets a start, but I think Aiden Hill deserves it.
I think in the end, though, the big thing with Bennington is, like we talked about with Doughty, is just a warrior, a battler. Like he wants to fight for it. He wants that crease. He wants all that job. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. They got a couple days of practice. We'll see, like you said, if it changes tomorrow, and kind of go from there. But we are 2 days away from the first game. It's such a challenge because unlike the 82 games of the regular season and even a best of 7, it gives you a lot of leeway really compared to this. You lose that first game and there's an outside chance you can't make it to the final. That's how easy it is. So it's going to be exciting and probably more than a little nerve-wracking for all of us fans out here.
Yeah, first game up, Canada versus Sweden. Definitely looking forward to that. Then you got U.S. Finland the next day. Kind of lets you see all 4 teams kicked off, and then obviously on Saturday it's gonna be fun night. Almost feels like New Year's Eve, where you got a game earlier between like a Finland Sweden, and then a late night game between U.S. Canada.
Yeah.
So that should be exciting since the juniors didn't go as well as we had hoped. That I think that night will be a fun one to watch. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think we're going to see kind of where teams look like, because I think they're all going to come out gunning right away. They don't really have time to be messing with lines and that. They just kind of have to say, pick the right lines for this game and go. Because as you said, messing about and losing a game just to try to figure out where your lines are for later, there isn't really that opportunity.
These guys are professionals. They're going to wear their hearts on their sleeve, and they're just going to come out and go. Yeah, that's what you got to do.
And this is like, I had a chat with someone about the other day, and they were asking me, like, is this just going to be a glorified all-star game? And I was like, no, the only reason I say that is because none of these players have to go, right? Any one of these players could have turned this down. It's not like soccer where international duties get called and you have to go. Like in hockey, and especially this type of exhibition type thing, it's not the Olympics. It's not, if they didn't want to go, they didn't have to go. And so the compete level, from the players that did choose to go, and guys like Crosby, who's, coming off this injury, and he's like, no, I'm going to be there. These guys want to play. So I'm expecting really good hockey.
Like I said, it's going to be past the All-Star game as far as the actual skill level, but with hitting, with contact, with guys actually blocking shots, with guys actually playing defense, and who knows, maybe they fooled us all, and it will be just an all-star game and nobody will hit anybody else, but it sure doesn't seem like that. And the way the teams are built, there's a lot of grit on these teams. I'm pretty sure, Bennett would probably run over his own mother in a hockey game. He would probably run over his own mother in a floor hockey game over Christmas. So, that's a guy that's not going to back down or stop playing just because he knows somebody on the other team or whatever. So, yeah, I think it's going to be hard fought and it's going to be amazing.
And then the interesting part about this is because we haven't had a lot of international hockey, obviously, at this level. It's going to be the first time for some of these players to play against their teammates in the middle of a season. Like in fact, you just said Bennett. You're like, well, Bennett and Reinhart playing against Tkachuk. You know what I mean? These are guys that like to mix it up too. These aren't just two, gentle giants who just skate by each other and go, oh man, good game. These are guys that easily could just end up in a fight. So it's kind of going to be an interesting dynamic that I think most aren't used to. And, come Wednesday, I'm pretty pumped. I'll be sitting on my couch, 85-inch TV, ready to go, and looking forward to the game, and hope everyone else gets a chance to watch the games as well.
Yeah, we'll be back with you. We're going to do some recaps in the evenings around all the games, so make sure and subscribe and follow along. That way you'll get all the updates as soon as we put them out. We're going to try to recap as many games as quickly as we can, and then we'll do all the ones between and the gaps and stuff for between each round, and really to talk about what's possible. Somebody's going to be 0-1. Well, a couple teams will be 0-1 unless there's some ties, but odds are there'll be a couple teams 0-1 after Thursday. What does that mean? What if Finland comes out of nowhere and beats the U.S.? What if Canada loses? What if Canada wins? What does that mean? Could Sweden still get in? And we'll kind of recap all that, but also what we've seen in the games. Was it 4-3 overtime win for somebody, or was it 6-1 and never in doubt? So It's going to be so much fun, so much pride in it. And of course, as Canadians, we love it. So it's just really exciting to finally see it again. All right, Sibs, we'll wrap it up there. Like I said, we'll be back later this week. A couple more podcasts coming to you about this week as we recap the games. Just want to make sure if you found us once, make sure you find us again. So www.sportsbuds.com. That's sportsbudz.com or .ca. And we're always there. We're on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, everywhere you can find us. So make sure you subscribe, follow us, make sure you get those updates. And of course, we're also on social media. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Make sure you get to us and give us some comments. What do you think? Are we getting this right? Are we getting it wrong? You know, Simpson's always wrong, so he's always got something to say about it. But make sure you let him know. Can't be just me telling him. It's got to be other people too. It'll never sink in.
For sure. Yeah. Let us know what you think of this tournament, especially. This is kind of our first big one. The World Cup of Hockey really didn't go over that well. So this is the one that's going to best replicate the Olympics, being while the players are in full game shape, not in the summertime. And let us know if this is going to get you excited for the Olympics.
Yeah, they're going back next year, 2026. They're going to Italy. So this is definitely a warm-up. Are we going to see Sid for another one? Are we going to see McKinnon? You know, who else is going to be there? Obviously, McDavid. Everybody, they can get it. So I want to thank you guys again. We love doing this for you. So let us know, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, Sims. Great cover.
Thanks, Matt. Take care. Take care, everyone.